Guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about how Citadel wants AMC and GME, the 6-digit price, a 400% increase, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. Citadel sold more AMC and GME to retail than any other market maker. What they're trying to do is pivot the retail liquidity to artificial intelligence stocks so they profit from it and try to buy more swap contracts to hedge their risk on their short bets to continue their strategy to stave off time. Now, essentially what this is how Citadel is obviously in need of capital. The reason for that is because in order to suppress AMC, in order to suppress GME, in order to prolong the squeeze, they need to buy more swaps. They obviously need to create more synthetics. They need to naked short AMC more. Now, the way to do this is to obviously pump up some other stocks to then grab the liquidity from the retail investors, because not only does that increase their liquidity, so therefore they increase their capital, but it also decreases the buying power that retail has because they've put their liquidity in other places. And so that's what they've been trying to do. And we've seen in the past about how they are in need of AMC shares, how they are in need of GME shares, especially with what's happening recently, and especially with how they're lacking liquidity. They're not in a time anymore where they have spare capital to be doing everything they want. They have to be extremely strategic, and that's what they are trying to do. And this is why everyone says shorts have to buy back my shares to whatever price I want. My price is 6 figures each. Now, we're not going to go about the OBV because this is something we've covered so many times already. But what it is that shorts understand that when they don't have the liquidity to suppress AMC anymore, that's when the squeeze will happen. But not only that, they know that when the squeeze does happen, they don't get to choose the price they want to buy AMC. We get to choose the price at which we want to sell AMC. And the shorts know exactly that. And that's what they want to avoid. They want to avoid giving us the power to be able to set the price, because they know we're not going to let them off extremely easily. In fact, I think the lowest price I've ever seen someone put in the comment section below is probably only $1,000, $2,000. But even then, when you consider the fact that it's $1,000 and how many shares are out there of AMC, you can already imagine how impactful and how much damage it will do to these short sellers. Now, comment down below what price you guys will obviously want to sell at. You don't have to be exact with it, but it's to understand, in terms of why the shorts don't want us to be able to set the price, because they know that they won't get away with this easily. And especially with what we talked about, with everything building up, with what's to come, we're getting to that place. We're getting to that position, that situation where they no longer have the power to do so. You can even see here, GME beats by 400% on EPS, and it was up 6%, but it was actually up even higher than that during after hours, and it ended the day again plus 10%. And it's safe to say that the shorts are effed. So everything you got to know about AMC and GME when you look at their fundamentals. Now, like I said, it isn't a surprise to see that GME were able to have a good fundamentals when you understand how much cash they have. By obviously collecting interest, you're already able to have a lot of money. But we're obviously going to talk about their strategic moves in a second, which is really what I think is projecting AMC and why Roaring Kitty has obviously returned. But we talked about how when you look at the fundamentals of AMC and GME, whilst they are vastly different, they are still both working. We talked about AMC. They have a working market operation, a business structure where it's of course doing well, where they're able to expand, where they're able to make money. GME, on the other hand, whilst they don't have as a mature of a market operation as AMC does, they have an extremely large amount of cash, which is able to obviously allow them to survive as well. And so whilst, like I said, the situation between the two are extremely different, they're doing extremely well fundamentally, and evidently you can see from here. And so this is why we talked about why shorts are F, because the fundamentals is showing how AMC and GME is here to stay. And now you can see GameStop announces updates to investment policy to add Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset. So this is the big move that they have made today. And again, I think it's one of the biggest reasons for why we're seeing a GME going up. why we're seeing Roaring Kitty returning recently, while we're also seeing how some institutions are panicking because precisely of this. Biotech did a good breakdown into this, and you can see what BTC as a treasury reserve asset means for GameStop. So you can see MicroStrategy and Tesla has already adopted Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset to hedge against inflation and cash devaluation. GameStop follows as a way to diversify its cash reserves. Now, already, when you look at this, I already think that it's an extremely good thing to have. Because what we talked about earlier in terms of GME doesn't yet have the mature business structure like AMC does. And if the cash is just sitting there, obviously we're facing inflation, we're facing cash devaluation. But by investing into Bitcoin, you're obviously protecting and hedging against that. But when we see it yield its gains, it's going to prove that the cash they have is going to be extremely useful. And if we're able to see a large gain, then that obviously puts GME in an even better place where they will have spare cash to expand the company, but also a large amount of cash reserve that makes them money, but also keeps them healthy. And so this is why they are worried. And you can also see they're diversifying reserve using Bitcoin, but this could also bridge to an online payment system, one step closer to a digital platform. One thing that we know is obviously GME wants to move into that virtual space. And so this could serve as the stepping board towards, one step closer towards what they want. And especially with the increase of use of crypto, the utilization of crypto. Now, this isn't to talk about you should invest in crypto whatsoever. None of this is ever financial advice. So do take our second of salt. Make sure to do your own due diligence and research. But one thing when you look at crypto is that obviously throughout the last few years, we've seen its value increase. We've seen the utilization and usage of crypto increase. And if we're going into the future where it truly becomes the number one thing, then GameStop doing this early would put them in a very, very good position. And you can see we are cooking now. 950% short selling imbalance on and off market, and you still think this is a soft landing. If the Fed's on the other side of this GME trade, we are not playing Monopoly anymore. Now, what we are seeing is how essentially many people are on the wrong sides of the trade, and we have seen this. Especially when you're shorting AMC, you're shorting GME because you think they're going bankrupt, because you think AMC wasn't going to do well, but it did. You think GME won't be able to do well, but it has. And this is what they are worried about. This is why we've shown that they are in the wrong side of the trade. And when we see these all crumble, we're going to be looking at how all these shorts that were once obviously piling on their positions, piling on the naked shorts, piling on the synthetics, are all going to start pay for these AMC shares. You can see some of the examples. Shorts had a chance, but they removed the buy. Then they got 4 years capitulation now. And essentially what we're seeing is that a lot of people are just buying into GME. They're buying into the GME shares. They're buying into GME calls. The same for AMC as well. And what that means is, of course, they're just forcing shorts to create more synthetics. They're forcing the price of AMC and GME to go up. They're forcing the squeeze to be happening. And when the squeeze does happen, the shorts will have to buy back the billions of synthetics in which they have created at the price of $1,000, at the price of $10,000, at the price of 6 digits. And that's what the power we have will be in the future. You can also see some potential to be seeing Roaring Kitty actually and really being active in the market. What we're seeing here, the GME dark pool 5K blocks are, I guess you could say, roaring today. Most significant activity level in months. Now, we shouldn't be surprised, especially with what happened, like we talked about. GME, very good earnings. They made a strategic move into Bitcoin. Now, prior to that, so prior to the earnings, if you guys were watching my videos, I already talked about how Roaring Kitty was returning. And like I said, we should be expecting something extremely volatile. And that's exactly what we saw. We saw how GME went up 10% in a day. But these 5K trades, and in the past, what we've seen is how Roaring Kitty is actually famous for these 5K block trades. Now, this isn't to say that only he can obviously do this. There are, of course, multiple people who are able to do this. As long as you have the capital, you will have the ability to do this. But it's the fact that when we look at what's been happening recently, we saw roensch returning to X. We saw how GME is making these big moves. We're seeing how these shorts are, failing to suppress AMC and GME, and suddenly we're seeing the signature moves by roensch. We could really be looking at the volatility to go even higher. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching the video. I'll catch you guys next time.